How you doing out there, everybody? All right, so it is Liberation Day, as Trump likes to call it, and I don't know exactly what that means, but we do know it means one thing: there's going to be tariffs. His favorite word. Now, I am personally completely for tariffs. I think that the fact that we have free trade with everybody, although it's free trade on our end, but not everybody else's, is what has completely kind of ruined the middle class in this country. It's gutted Main Street, all those things. That being said, I think that what we need to recognize, and what I am a little bit annoyed at, is that they should be telling people the truth about this. So you're actually going to hear me complain a little bit about the current president and his cabinet for a little bit. While I like the tariffs, I don't like the fact that they aren't telling everyone the truth. The truth is that it is going to raise prices on things in the short term. In the long term, we will end up much better because a lot of the things that are being produced in other countries are going to come back to the United States. Now, what does that mean? It means there's going to be more than just McJobs out there. Now, don't get me wrong. The wave of the future is still like tech jobs, all those other things, but do not discount, and this is one thing that I think that the left totally forgets. You're discounting manufacturing jobs for middle-class people. Not everyone has got a degree, but you can go and get a manufacturing job and it will pay pretty good, and you can be in a union and all these other things. Now, that's where they're lying about it won't raise prices. American labor, even if they shift all manufacturing back to the United States, American labor is still going to cost more than it would if you produce things in like China and stuff. Now, and we'll get to that because I don't necessarily think that their plan is to shift everything back to America, truthfully. I think there's another whole layer to what's going on as well. But we'll get into that in a second. But anyway, it is going to raise prices, okay? So even if Teslas are made in the United States, Tesla now has to buy its steel and its aluminum from American manufacturers. American manufacturers have to ramp up production, and they're going to use American labor, which means that they're paying more for that steel and aluminum. Now, it's still a good thing, though. We need a manufacturing base in our country. For the last 20 years, our main contributor to GDP is not making anything. It's actually all financial services. So, like, people making money off of lending money and things like that. And I don't think that that's a healthy economy either. That's why you had, like, in 2008, when things just crashed because of banks. You need to make things. So in the long run, the tariffs are good. It's going to bring things back. And I'm not even talking about the big things. You know, this means that somebody, and the thing is that yes, China can make it cheaper. China might even be able to ship it over here. But if you had the choice between a Chinese product, which we all know Chinese products just aren't made quite as well as from other places. So we won't even use America. But if you had the choice between a Chinese product and a Japanese product, and they both cost the same because of tariffs, because the Chinese product can't undercut another product now because of really cheap labor, which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the Japanese product, or you're going to choose the Chinese product? You're going to choose the Japanese product just because you know it's made better. Okay? So if that's the case, Chinese products won't sell as much, even if the tariffs are paid. And that just means that China is going to start, or not going to be able to import as many things into our country. So what does that mean? It means that somebody in America might actually come up with, let's use brooms, for example. We all need brooms. Well, imagine all the brooms are made in China, and that's why we can buy brooms super cheap, because they can ship it over here. There's no tariffs or anything. Well, if we have a company that makes brooms in the United States and the broom costs just as much as the Chinese broom because they're getting tariffs put on it. Don't you think you're going to buy the American broom over the Chinese broom? Okay. Well, once the American broom, there's somebody who makes the American broom and they figure out that they can make it a little bit cheaper than this guy because they're making money. It's the whole free market system, supply and demand. If everyone's buying American brooms, there's going to be somebody else who's going to come in and say, well, I can make that broom cheaper. And that's how the prices will start to lower, not in any other way. Right now, the prices are low because we're artificially making them low because we're buying them from countries that don't pay their workers shit. Okay, so that's part one. I'm a little bit annoyed with that. Part two, and this is more criticism about this current president and his cabinet. Um, I kind of agree with the fact that they are maybe going a little bit too quick with things. The fact that you maybe are deporting people who are not criminals and all that stuff, that's a slippery slope right there, and honestly that's not okay. That's inexcusable. You need to make sure that what you're doing, there's no rush. Okay, I understand that it seems like the more you beat the drum and make everything happen all at once, then it seems like you're getting shit done. But these are people's lives you're dealing with, and if you screw these things up, I mean, I had a movie when I was a kid. It was called Johnny Dangerously, and there was a joke in it where the Italian mob boss gets deported to, I forgot what country, deported to like Nicaragua, and it showed like a news feed, and it's all like Maroni deported to Nicaragua claims he's not from there. It seems a little bit too close to that, where it's like you're deporting people to a third party country that they're not even from to put them in jail, and then maybe you're not even getting it right. Okay, so that's not okay at all. And then you're snatching people off the street, kind of kidnapping style. um, I mean, I'm all for deporting, criminal aliens and stuff, but like, I don't know if that's how you have to do it, then I'd rather them be caught some other time or doing something else. Just truthfully, I don't really like the optics of it. Masked men just showing up on the street and like kidnapping people and throwing them in a van. I don't know, man. I'm not. I do put trust in our agencies that they're actually picking up the right people, but it just don't look good. It looks horrible. Like, it looks like some shit that you do in countries that none of us want to live in. They just roll up on you on the street with a ski mask and then throw you into a car. Like, I don't know, not into that at all. So I think that, not to quote the CNN or anything, but the whole idea of like, fire then aim. There's a little bit of truth to that. I think you guys need to like just tone it down a little bit and actually figure out what you're doing before you do it. Just because these are things that you can't get wrong, you have to get it right. And again, there's plenty of time. Like, it's been so fucked up for so long. What's another couple months? You don't need to like bang the drums and get everybody out of here in the first like 2 weeks. Now I know, if there is some repercussions to what I'm saying. What if these people are dangerous and they commit another crime? Well, I mean, what if, it's kind of like what Trump said. What if a train or a plane falls out of the sky? I mean, these things, something might happen. You're right. But I will tell you right now, it looks better if you don't carry out these actions the way you have been. So that being said, those are my two gripes with the president and his cabinet right now. So let's move back into the idea of the tariffs and such. Again, I'm completely for the tariffs. I think in the long run, it is a really good idea to bring all manufacturing, not all, but manufacturing back to the United States. Now, here's where I think there's something bigger happening here. I personally, just from talking to people and like paying attention to certain things, if you paid attention, the very first person who came to the White House was Prime Minister Modi of India. Now, Trump has been complaining about India being unfair. They tariff us and all that stuff. And it is true. They have really high tariffs on all products going into their country. But you have to question, why was the Prime Minister of India the first person to come to the White House? That's not the normal. Usually the first people to come to the White House are usually like very close allies, like Canada, even Mexico, or like Great Britain, places that are very much like in our sphere. India is not like a direct, like it just didn't make sense that he was the first person, unless you look at what's happening with the idea of like eventually the trade stuff with Mexico and Canada might get resolved. Okay. And we put tariffs on China during President Trump's first term. But the thing was, is they were able to get around it because all they had to do was ship those goods into Canada and Mexico, who had we had free trade with, and then they could bring all that shit into the United States and bypass the tariffs. So I think what's actually happening here is I don't know if it's a smokescreen to get China to not really pay attention to maybe what might be occurring, or if it's real. I know that there are some trade imbalances, but I think what's going to happen is that Mexico and Canada and the United States are going to resolve their problems and almost create like North America as an entity. We're all going to be different countries, obviously, but when it comes to trade, we are all going to be on the same page. I think we're going to end up having free trade between our three countries, and everybody is going to tariff China. And I think that the goal here is to shift manufacturing from China, who it's pretty much accepted worldwide has been cheating when it comes to trade with everybody. They're going to shift manufacturing from China to India. Trump even said the other day that he thinks that India is going to drop all their tariffs. Well, if Trump's policy holds true, if India drops their tariffs, that means reciprocally we will drop ours, because Trump keeps saying it's reciprocal tariffs. So I think the end goal here, and I could be completely wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm an economist. It just seems to make sense. I think what's going to happen here is free trade between Mexico, America, Canada, and India. And I think that's going to take some time to happen, but I think that's the end goal, because India, with the exception of their energy production, has a cheap labor force. They can spin up like, just like in China, they have the manpower to man all of these different manufacturing places at dirt cheap prices. So if we had free trade with India, companies will set up there to make goods to bring into the United States, and that would keep prices, it would actually lower prices because there wouldn't be any tariffs like there are on Chinese goods already. I don't know. I see this maybe happening, because the other thing that was a little bit of a tell was, while all of these things were going on between Canada and us and all that stuff, out of nowhere, China put tariffs on Canada. And I don't really see any other reason why they would do that other than they figured out what we're doing. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know shit. It seems like that's what's happening. I guess we're going to find out. We're going to find out later today, because it's Liberation Day, as it's been dubbed, which I don't know what the fuck that means, but I do think that all of this is a good thing for the American consumer. The biggest thing is that if we can get our debt down, you got to understand that that means that money, every dollar you have, even though you're maybe not making as much as before and things are more expensive, you will be able to buy more with that dollar. And that will cause prices to go down. And then you will have, so if you're making $17 an hour right now, you should be making like $25, $30 an hour to keep up with like inflation. But if they can get the inflation down, and what's been happening for years is not necessarily inflation. What they've been doing is what's called devaluing our dollar. Okay, they've made so they've created so much money that our money is not worth anything. So the only thing that you can do is shrink the money supply by not letting it all just float out there. And that's what's happening when you get investment from outside. So let's take Apple, who was investing $500 billion in the United States. Well, before that, Apple had $5 billion just sitting in a bank, probably not even in this country, doing nothing except gaining interest or whatever they were doing. Well, when you take that money and you spend it into the economy, that's where the money starts. It's hard to explain, but that's when the money starts coming back into our pockets because it's filtering through American systems instead of just sitting out overseas. Again, just being a financial tool instead of it being put to work, making factories, making jobs, all that stuff. If somebody just takes their money and sits it in a bank and it just gains interest and that's how they're making money, that doesn't help anyone except the person that it's making money for. Apple spending the money that they've been sitting on is a wildly good thing because all that money is getting pumped into the economy, in which case then you deal with trickle down, okay? So they're going to build factories. Okay, well, there's the people who had to build the factories. They're making money. Then there's the people that they employ at the factories who are making money. Those two people who are making money then go out to eat more. Then you've got servers who are making more money because the people who were working on the plants and now working at the plant has more money in their pockets. So they're like, let's go out to dinner 3 times a week instead of just 1. So then the server makes more money. Well, then the server makes more money, and then that server goes and gets his haircut every week instead of every 2 weeks, and on and on and on. That's what the trickle-down economy is. And I know this is all really simplistic, but I think you guys got to recognize that a lot of people don't understand that that's what all this shit means. They just hear trigger words and key phrases and stuff, but they're not actually thinking about what the fuck anyone's talking about, okay? So anyway, it's Liberation Day. We're going to find out what the fuck this means. Tomorrow, you're either going to have, now he announces all this stuff after the close of the stock market. Now, this is another part of the whole thing too, is everyone seems to be thinking that just because stocks are down, that this will be bad for the economy. That is not true at all. Stock market is not the economy. It's an indicator of the economy. But, you know, just like everybody's always screaming corporate greed and all this stuff, this is almost forcing corporations to maybe realize that they're not going to make as much money as they used to because they are going to have to spend more to make their product. Well, that means that the stock prices are coming down. But here's the thing. People who own stock, which I'm one of them, your grandparents are probably one of them, anyone who has a 401k, anyone who has a pension, anyone who has any sort of retirement, you're in the stock market, whether you know it or not, or whether you like it or not. Well, here's the thing. You have watched that shit go up and up and up and up and up and up for the last, let's call it 12 years, but it's probably longer than that. Well, it's going to have to come down a little bit because it was out of control. Everyone likes to see their 401k just going up and up and up and up, but it's an unhealthy going up and up and up and up. This is rebalancing everything out so that way now when your 401k starts to go up after all of this is said and done, it's going up in a healthy way instead of it being just propped up by like bullshit money. Okay, because the reason your stocks were going up is because corporations, instead of paying their employees more, corporations, instead of opening up factories in the United States, they would make all their shit in China. They were taking that extra money that they were making and giving it back to shareholders, which, again, I own stock. I like dividends. I get all that. But they were giving it all back to the shareholders, and then they were buying back their own stocks. So those stocks weren't necessarily even going up because they were supposed to. Those stocks were going up because the company itself was just taking the money it was making and buying its own stock so that way the price would go up. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't really give a shit if the stock price goes up. I give a shit that people have jobs, people are making enough money to feed themselves, all of those things. And I think that's gotten lost in this all is that, yeah, it's great to make money on the stock market. I want to make money on the stock market. I want my 401k, my IRA to go up. But I think that we would all be better off if everybody participated in things getting better. So, I mean, I don't, I mean, of course, I don't want the stock market to crash, but I also don't give a shit if it goes down a little bit either to make things better. And that's what I think is going to happen. Yeah, like some of the car manufacturers are going to have to pony up some money to actually build the shit here. They're going to have to, and then they talk about parts. Well, that's part of it too. You're going to have to invest in plants here to make the parts to put in your cars. Otherwise, you're going to pay tariffs. So tariffs are a smart tool of how to get things rebalanced, I guess is what the right word would be. So we're going to see what happens. I don't know. And it's not going to be like quick. The stock market might react quick, but the whole making the economy healthy and stuff like that, that's going to take some time. But I think it's really going to happen. Because, I mean, you ask some really smart people, and they'll tell you right now they love the idea of tariffs. Because, you know, if you think about it, tariffs are the reason that Walmart was able to just spread throughout this country, being able to sell stuff from China at cheap prices. And then what did that do? It put all the mom and pop stores out of business. Well, if Walmart's going to be selling products that are the same price as the shit that the mom and pop stores have, you're probably going to end up going to the mom and pop store. I mean, in my own personal experience, like, you know, like I hate going to Home Depot. I have to go every now and then. But I'm telling you right now, if I have a choice between going to Home Depot or Ace Hardware, which I don't even know if they have Aces all over the country, but here in Arizona, we have Ace Hardware. It's much more of like a local corner hardware store. It costs more. They don't have as much stuff. But if I have the choice between going to Ace Hardware and I have the choice of going to Home Depot, I'm going to Ace Hardware because one, they're way more friendly. They actually know what the fuck they're talking about. You go to Home Depot and you ask a question, and the guy who works there literally just looks on the app that you can look at to see what aisle the product you're even looking for is. They're just useless bodies in a building, truthfully. So, again, I think that it's going to rebalance things back to a little bit more of like the mom and pop, where people will actually be able to make money off of selling products that are made in the United States, because these big box companies that have been making so much money because they got things for so cheap, they're not going to be able to get that stuff for super cheap anymore. And I mean, that is going to hit all of us in our pocketbooks, but I'm hoping that what that also means is that instead of buying products that just aren't worth the shit anymore, you know, like where you have to buy a new washer or dryer every 4 years. Well, I'm hoping that if it's made in the United States, we get back to that idea of like products that are built to last. So yeah, I might have to pay more for that washer or that dryer, but this thing will last me 10 years, or, you know, that idea of like actual craftsmanship that, you know, America was always, you know, people used to think of us as making good products and stuff, or like furniture. I mean, dude, you buy crap furniture from, I mean, honestly, IKEA makes garbage too. It's not even just Chinese stuff, but you buy furniture nowadays and like you are lucky if it lasts a couple of years. You know, there used to be companies in America like Ethan Allen and stuff like Lazy Boy and things like that, which Lazy Boy I'm pretty sure isn't even made in this country anymore. But those companies used to make good products. You used to buy a Lazy Boy and that shit would last you like 15, 20 years. You'd even like give it to your kid or something when he moved out for the first piece of furniture he had. My parents had Ethan Allen furniture. That shit is the most solid stuff you've ever seen. They've had it for 40 years and it's not anywhere close to being like ready to be thrown out. It is, that's like generational like furniture. And yes, it was expensive, but it was just better. So I'm hoping that's where the rebalancing will happen. We're going to be in for, and like I said, I don't like that they're lying to everybody saying that it's not going to cost more. It's going to cost more. But I think just like everything else in life, would you rather pay a little bit more and get something better? I would. Um, I don't know. That's my take on that. So, and then back to the whole idea of like ICE and that stuff is just, it's not like I don't think that we need to deport people who are criminals that are in this country. Border crossings are down to, I think, down 96% since last year at the same time. That's all good things, but I also don't think it's the most important thing. The most important thing is still looking like, we're not an authoritarian government. And I'll tell you right now, that's not what you get when you see masked people just snatching people off the street. That looks authoritarian. So, all right. Well, I just wanted to pop on here and do a quick little thing. I did have one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I haven't seen it, but everyone keeps talking about it, and I do have an opinion on it, even if I haven't seen the movie. So let's talk about Snow White. Everybody seems to be completely up in arms about Snow White. Um, and obviously the lead actress in that, I think Rachel Zegler, I think is her name. She definitely said some stupid stuff that probably, and I actually heard the other day that Disney is thinking about actually suing her to get back some of the money they gave her because she was in breach of contract by basically talking shit about the movie she was in. It's the biggest flop of all of the Disney live action remakes, which that's what really brings me to my point on the Snow White thing. Um, I don't care about any of the politics of it. They're stupid. All of these live action remakes are stupid. They're not good movies. You're just recycling the same old idea. And then they call them live action, except that they're using nothing but CGI. It might as well be a fucking cartoon. None of it looks fucking real. You didn't use real short people in this. You don't call them the dwarves or whatever is PC anymore. So, I mean, it might as well be a fucking cartoon. I don't even see the point in any of it. I know people liked Beauty and the Beast. The only one of them that I did see that I thought was halfway decent, but it's not really a remake of anything, was the Cruella movie. I thought that was actually pretty good. I thought that was a good, like, not even adaptation because it had nothing to do with the original one other than the characters, but it was like a good add-on to the story or whatever. So that's my take on the whole thing is like I think that Disney is tanking because they're just making fucking horrible decisions. I mean, there really hasn't been a whole lot that Disney's been doing lately that they've been knocking it out of the park. Even with Marvel, I mean, some of the Marvel stuff that's coming out looks okay. Like Thunderbolts looks all right. I'm interested to see what's going on with the Fantastic Four movie because I like the retro look that's happening with it. Um, but I mean, other than that, I don't. Disney's not wowing me with anything anymore. All of it's kind of stupid. I mean, and this is the thing. Anyone who knows me knows I love Disney stuff, but it's weird. I don't really like Disney like movies and cartoons and all. I like the old stuff that I grew up with, but I like Disney because of the theme parks. So all this other shit that they're doing is not. I don't really care, honestly. Um, but I mean, just from an outside perspective, they're not doing themselves any favors by doing like these live action remakes and all that. They're stupid. I don't know why anyone cares. I mean, I get it that they're trying to reintroduce classics to a new generation and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, if I went and saw something with my parents who they loved it when they were a kid, so they're taking me to go see it when I'm a kid, and they're just telling me, or not even telling me, but we get out of the movie theater and you just hear mom turn to dad and say, well, that was terrible. As a kid, I'm not sure even if I liked it, I would be all like, yeah, no, I liked it. I'd be like, well, mom and dad thought it sucked. I guess it sucked. I don't like it either. So I don't think Disney's doing itself any favors with any of this shit. Um, So I don't know. That's my take on the Disney crap. Not that anyone gives a fuck, but that's how I see it. Um, Doge. There was a great interview with Elon Musk and the members of Doge talking about what they're doing. I still am all for this. I'm sorry to everyone who's losing their jobs, but I hate how bloated and ridiculous our government is. I am I am all for trimming the fat. Now, just like the immigration stuff, I don't like that people maybe get caught up in it, and it's like people who maybe shouldn't be fired are getting fired. But I mean, the truth is that these are all things that just need to go away. Down the road, we can hire people back, and these agencies, as deemed necessary, maybe you should get more employees and stuff like that. But I challenge anyone, and I argue with people all the time, like, name one thing, and I'll ask you guys one thing the government does well. One. I can't think of any. I think we blow people up good, and even then, we're not all that good at it. We have all this sophisticated military stuff, and instead of dropping it on the target that we're aiming at, we drop it on a wedding or the wrong person. So I mean, maybe we're good at war. We're good at war. I'll give you that. We're good at war. But other than that, I can't think of anything that the government does that they do a good job. Healthcare is a fucking mess. Social Security is the biggest fucking scam ever. If all the money you put into Social Security, you just saved it yourself and put it in like a normal savings account, you would have more money than what the government is going to give you when you retire. So tell me how that's a good system. Plus, we have to argue about it constantly. Are you even going to get that money? So whatever. Social Security is a fucking joke. Let's talk about Medicare or even the VA. I go to the fucking hospital and I pay for it out of pocket for an X-ray, $200, $250. You go there and you've got Medicare or you're with the VA system, $1,200. Why? You want to know why? Because they know they can charge the government whatever the fuck they want, and the government will say yes. Okay, well, those inflated prices that they tell the government also contribute to how expensive everything is. Because if the doctors aren't going to get paid what they want, they tell Medicaid, well, that procedure was 30 grand, even though it really what they want for it is maybe like 12. And they're hoping that they're going to get paid whatever the government will pay them. But they're telling them that it's that expensive. Well, that right there is inflationary. You're setting a price point. You're saying that this procedure costs $30,000 when in reality it doesn't, but you're telling them that much so that way you can get at least 12,000 because you know that the government is going. It's a fucking mess. So, and back to the original point, what does the government do well? What do they do well? Please comment below. What do you think that our government does good? I have no idea what anyone's going to say. Education, we're last. Okay, we don't do that well. You know, transportation, infrastructure, our roads suck. Everything looks the same way it did when I was a kid, and it's fucking 40 years down the road, and it's all falling apart. So I don't see that. You know, New York City is impressive. I think everyone should go see New York City. I'm actually going to New York City in May. But then go and look at some of these other countries and like their major cities like Beijing and like Dubai. And I mean, dude, they're way more impressive. Okay. A lot of Asian countries are extremely impressive. So, I mean, are we even doing that all that well? So I think it's one of those things where like take into account the fact that you're standing up for people who aren't necessarily doing a good job. Well, then maybe they should get fired. I don't know. Call me old fashioned. I believe you should do a good job to keep your job. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Strong and uninformed opinions. Jeff Gulino. Little quick one. Happy Liberation Day. I guess we're going to find out what the fuck happens with that. Could get real interesting. I still think what I'm saying about India, Canada, and Mexico might be a thing, though, guys. Because I've talked to a lot of people, and like it. And granted, once again, it's not like I'm in the know or anything, but I've talked to a lot of people in different industries, and even some of the people I've talked to have told me that they see their manufacturing base picking up shop in China and moving to another country that's not got tariffs with the United States. So it's happening. Like those things are happening. Like a good example, we use a lot of gloves doing tattoos. Well, during COVID, you couldn't get gloves because they were coming from China. Really hard to get gloves. Well, ever since then, I talked to the lady who's our distributor for gloves, and she told me there's not going to be any rate increases. In fact, I saw the prices of our gloves go down. And I asked her, well, how are you sure about that? And she said that because after COVID, they took everything, all of their manufacturing of gloves left China because it was a problem. You know, when China locked down, we had no gloves. So they took it all out of China and they just started doing it in other places. And ever since then, the price of gloves has actually went through the fucking floor. So I see that as like almost like an indicator of what will happen with other industries when the tariffs go in. Now that was because of like other other problems, but it's the same kind of catalyst that makes people move their stuff to a different country. But all right, it's been fun. We'll see you guys around. Jeff Gulino, Strong and Uninformed Opinions. Like, share, subscribe, all these other things that you're supposed to do on YouTube. Very happy with how much people are into these videos. I want to keep doing them. It's a lot of fun. People always ask me, are you making any money doing this? And the answer is absolutely not. You have to you have to have millions of followers to do all that shit. But it seems like the people who actually take the time to watch this do enjoy it. So I'm gonna keep doing it because I enjoy doing it. We got another movie review coming out probably in a week or so. The movie is called Doll Man. Wait till you see this fucking piece of shit. Oh my god, it's horrible. It is about an intergalactic bounty hunter who, on his world, he's a badass. I mean, he's just the toughest dude you know. But then he somehow travels through space and time and ends up on our world. And he still thinks he's the big old badass that he is, except that on our world, he's only 13 inches tall. Awesome premise for a movie. So this intergalactic bounty hunter is running around New York City trying to find somebody, and he's that big and still acting like he's a badass. And somebody could literally just step on him and kill him. Anyway, look for the Doll Man movie review. It should be a good one. But anyway, I think everyone just calm down, okay? Oh, real quick though, the Tesla stuff. Here's my advice on the Tesla stuff. One, buy Tesla stock. You might still have some pain ahead of you, but here's the deal. Tesla is going to basically, you're going to be doing business with Tesla whether you like it or not, okay? I think it's in like the next few years, Tesla is introducing a driverless like semi truck, which we have a huge trucker shortage in this country. So eventually you're going to get all of your goods delivered all over the country by a driverless Tesla truck. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like just money in the fucking bank for Tesla. Um, you know, me personally, I really like Tesla cars. And the only reason I never got one is because they're kind of expensive. Well, thank you, America. You guys keep turning in all the Teslas because you hate Elon Musk. Well, you can get a Tesla now for super cheap. You can get a used 2022, 2023 Tesla with like 40,000 miles on it for under $20,000. So thank you, America, because I like a Tesla. I kind of wanted one for a few years, and now I could maybe even afford one. So you might see your boy with a Tesla sometime, all right? But other than that, I don't know what the fuck anyone's mad about. Like, if you hate Elon Musk, fine, you hate Elon Musk. If you think you're hurting Elon Musk by tanking Tesla, I mean, yeah, you kind of are, but Tesla's not going to go anywhere. And truthfully, in the end, he's probably going to end up richer because of what you're doing. Because here's what's going to happen is you're tanking his stock. Tesla's not going to go anywhere. He's just going to buy a whole bunch more of his stock, which I also would advise you to look into because I personally bought some. Um, because it's gonna go up. Okay, I mean Tesla also has Boxable, which I don't know if you know this. That's the very affordable houses that are going to be coming out. Well, they're going to use Tesla battery technology with the solar panels, so that way they can be self-sufficient homes that can hold their own electricity, and they're going to use all Tesla technology. Now, if you don't think that doesn't sound like a moneymaker, I don't know what to tell you. The only thing standing in their way right now is literally cities and states with zoning restrictions and things like that. So I don't know. It seems to me like Tesla, by going down in price, you're actually going to make him much richer because in the end, it's not going to go away. He's going to end up owning more of his own company, and then it's all going to go back up because he's already said he's not going to do Doge forever. Well, with the fucking we have a memory, or what's it called, like a memory span of like a fish in this country. So 6 months after he stops doing Doge, everyone's going to forget why they even fucking hate him, and it's going to go back to Tesla's saving the world. So, which is another one that I don't understand. 4 years ago, you got a Tesla because you were saving the world. You were almost virtue signaling because you were better than everyone else because you were driving a car with no emissions and all this other stuff. Well, now because of your stupid fucking politics, you've decided that the earth doesn't fucking matter anymore. Fuck it, let's go back to gas cars. Good job, guys. Way to show where you really stand on important stuff. You do that stuff and it makes people think, is it really even that important? I don't know. I don't know, guys. We're all going nuts. Anyway, I've been Jeff Gulino. You've been great.